Yesterday, we learned about that in the beginning of this chapter, Savanaka Muni is inquiring from Sutta Goswami regarding the Parikshit Maharaj's birth, death, and other activities. And then they wanted to know about all the activities of Parikshit Maharaj. Then in few verses, Sutta Goswami describes about the opulent ruling of the kingdom of Hastinapur, describes the Yudhishthira Maharaj's qualities. He ruled the kingdom just like Amrish Maharaj. And then next topic we discuss is about how Parikshit Maharaj in the womb saw the Lord. So Lord's vision that he saw like a thumb high. He was wearing yellow dhoti, four-handed form like that. So, and then when the auspicious time came, Parikshit took birth, and as soon as Maharaj Yudhishthira knew about it, he called for learned brahmanas, and under the guidance of Dhaumya Muni and Krupacharya, Yudhishthira have them perform the Jat Karma purificatory process that is called in the beginning separating the child from mother by cutting the umbilical cord. So that ceremony is performed. Then Maharaj Yudhishthira wants to know more about Parikshit Maharaj's future. So this is all we learned yesterday about the Maharaj Parikshit ruling and everything. And then he also called for brahmanas and performed this process. And then he fed the brahmanas here after he gave them charity, and everything is described here. So now the learned brahmanas say that, O son of Prutha, this child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku. So from this point on, we will start our class today. So the brahmanas before that said that the child will be known as Vishnu Rath because he has been protected by the all-pervasive and all-powerful Lord. He will be first-class devotee with all good qualities. So that was the Brahmana's prediction that they are telling it to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Again, they are giving the two reasons why Parikshit Maharaj was saved in the womb of his mother. The one reason is that he was a spotless and pure devotee of the Lord. And second one, he was only surviving male descendant of Puru dynasty. Means to become a king, you have to have somebody, in your family who can take over the throne of Hastinapur. So this Puru dynasty originated from Moon dynasty. As you know, beginning of the universe, there were two main dynasties, Moon dynasty and Sun dynasty. Okay, so in Moon dynasty, Lord Krishna appeared, and in Sun dynasty, Lord Ramchandra appeared. So here we're talking about Moon dynasty right now, which begins from Atri and Ansuya. Atri being the sage who is the son of Lord Brahma, and Ansuya is the daughter of Devhuti and Kardama Muni. Kardama Muni is again son of Brahma, and Devhuti is the daughter of Manu and Satrupa. In the beginning, Brahma, after creating so many sages from different parts of his body, finally he created a couple, Manu and Satrupa, man and a woman. So from that point, the biological creation of this or the generation has started. And Manu and Satrupa has 2 sons and 3 daughters. 2 sons are Priyavat and Uttanpad, and then 3 daughters are Devhuti, Akuti, Prasuti. So this Devhuti has 9 daughters. So one of them is Ansuya, was married to Atri. And from Atri and Ansuya, we see there are Som, Budh, and Pururva. Pururva has a wife, Urvasi, and he has 6 sons. And the Ayu is the one who is prominent. From Ayu, Nahus came, and from Nahus, Yayati, King Yayati. So King Yayati has 2 wives, Devyani and Sarmista, and they have 5 sons. Out of these 5, Yayati, 2 sons were mainly prominent, which is Yadu and Puru. So in Yadu family, as we know, Lord Krishna took birth. So Krishna sometimes also called Yadava. Many generations, Lord Krishna took birth after many generations. And Pandavas took birth in Puru dynasty after so many descendants of kings. So Lord Krishna wants to continue the line of pious kings to rule over the earth as his representative for the actual progress of a peaceful and prosperous life. So Lord Krishna is described herein also as a Vishnu. Why Vishnu? Vishnu is Sarve Vasati iti Vishnu, means he is all pervasive, means he is present everywhere. Because in that Vishnu capacity, he does the work of creation, annihilation, protection, and all these activities that he can perform in the Vishnu form. Now, next verse, Yudhishthira Maharaj was very curious to know more about child Parikshit in detail. So he inquired from those learned Brahmanas that, please tell me, will he become as saintly, as famous as others who appeared in this great royal family? Because the Puru dynasty, as I mentioned, coming out, from the Ayati, from the Atri and Suya. So it was like a royal family. So he was curious to know the future of Parikshit. So Maharaj Yudhishthir was himself an example of his ancestor. And he desired that the next king after him become exactly like his great forefathers. So Yudhishthir wanted to know whether the child was going to follow in the footsteps of his great forefathers or not. So then Brahmanas started replying from this next verse. In few verses, they are foretelling the future of Maharaj Parikshit. So in the first verse, they are saying here that this child, Maharaj Yudhishthir, they are addressing Maharaj Yudhishthir and saying that this child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku. Now this King Ikshvaku is coming in Sun dynasty. Okay, he is son of Vaivasat Manu, which is the present Manu. In Brahma's one day there are 14 Manus. So the 7th Manu is Vaivasat Manu and his son is Ikshvaku. So the Sun dynasty, just like Moon dynasty began from Atri and Ansuya, similarly the Sun dynasty began from Marichi and Kala. Marichi again being a son of Brahma and Kala being the daughter of Devhuti. So now the Brahmanas are saying that this child Parikshit will be like King Ikshvaku in maintaining the citizen. Just like King Ikshvaku is very expert in maintaining citizens, he will do the same thing. And as far as following the Brahminical principle, especially true to his promise, right? He shall be like Lord Ramchandra. So here Brahmana is giving the analogy, similarity, that how Parikshit Maharaj will behave in this verse. They say he will be like Ikshvaku in maintaining the citizen, and he will be, as far as following dharma, true to his promise, he will be like Lord Ramchandra. So you all know about Lord Ramchandra from Ramayana, so we'll not go into too much detail describing about Ramchandra. Then in the next verse, the Brahmana is telling that this child will be munificent, that means generous donor of charity, and the protector of the surrender, like King Sibi. So here the simile is given that with King Sibi, formerly King Sibi was very celebrated king, and so they are saying that this Parikshit Maharaj will spread the name and fame like another king, which is Bharat from Dushyant Bharat, Dushyant and Sakundla. So in this verse, the Brahmanas are comparing Parikshit Maharaj with two kings, King Sibi and King Bharat. So I'll tell you a little bit about King Sibi. King Sibi, he was an intimate friend of Maharaj Ayati. Maharaj Sibi was aware of the heavenly planet where he was to be transferred after his death. And Maharaj Sibi was so charitably disposed that he wanted to give over his acquired position in the heavenly kingdom to Ayati. But Ayati did not accept it. Also, it is described that in the Bhagavad Gita, the worshipper of demigod goes to planet of the demigod. And so Maharaj Sibi has become an associate of the great Vaishnava authority, Yamraj, on that particular planet. So the way you worship that planet you will get. That is what it is described. So while Maharaj Sibi was on the earth, he became very famous as a protector and surrendered soul and a donor of charities. So there is a brief story regarding this, how he was famous, how he became famous as a protector and a donor. So one time, King of Heaven, Indra, took the form of an eagle, eagle bird, and Agni Dev, which is fire god, took the form of a pigeon. Pigeon is a small bird. So while the pigeon was chased by eagle, because the eagle eats small birds, so the pigeon was flying and eagle was chasing pigeon. Okay. So at that time, that pigeon took shelter on the lap of Maharaj Sibi, and eagle wanted the pigeon back from King Sibi. Eagle says that this is my food, you have to give me back. So King Sibi wanted to give some other meat in exchange to that, and requested that eagle that not to kill the pigeon, but I will give you some other kind of meat. So in the beginning, that eagle did not agree, he refused, but then later on he accepted with one condition. What is the condition? The condition he put that the King Sibi should give his own flesh, his own meat, which is equal to the weight of pigeon. So now here is the trick. Both are actually demigod. They have taken this swarup of eagle and pigeon. So what is happening here now? The eagle is demanding the same amount of weight as Sibi Maharaj's weight, meat. Pigeon's weight. But this is a mystical pigeon. It's not ordinary pigeon. So on one scale, there is a pigeon was put, and on another side of the scale, the Sibi cut some flesh from his body and put it. But pigeon was always getting heavier and heavier. So then Sibi Maharaj fully sat himself, So at that time, those eagle and pigeon, they were not real eagle and pigeon, they were demigod. So they disclosed their real identity because they were pleased with Sibi Maharaj attitude, So the King of Heaven and the fire god disclosed their identity, and the King Sibi was blessed by them. And Devarsi Narad also glorified King Sibi for this great achievement, specifically in charity and protection. So also Maharaj Sibi sacrificed his own son for the satisfaction of human being in his kingdom. And thus child Parikshit was to become a second CB in the charity and protection. So that is the why they are comparing Parikshit Maharaj with this CB Maharaj. Next, they are comparing with Bharat, Dushyant Bharat here. Now, in the history, there are three Bharatas. Okay, one Bharat is brother of Lord Ramchandra, who is the son of Dasarath and Kaikai, which you all know about them from Ramayana. Second Bharat is one who is eldest son of Rushabdev and Jayanti. Rushabdev being the incarnation of God, Lord Krishna, and he has 100 sons, and out of that Bharat Maharaj is the eldest one. In the next life, he also known as Jad Bharat. We will not go in that detail. But then the third Bharat, that is what we will be discussing here, is the son of Dushyant and Sakuntala. Sakuntala being the daughter of Vishwamitra and Menka. So here Dushyant, I will tell a little story about Dushyant here. Before that, this Earth planet was known as Ilavrat verse before. But then after this Bharat, it is named to Bharat. So our country's name is Bharat based on this name Bharat. Now, Maharaj Dushyant fell in love with Sakuntala in the forest when he went there for hunting. And then he had a Gandharva Lagna marriage with Sakuntala, and Bharat was conceived. But after that, Maharaj forgot his wife Sakuntala because of the curse of Durvasa Muni. And the child Bharat was brought up in the forest by his mother Sakuntala. So even his childhood, he was so powerful that he challenged the lion and elephant in the forest and would fight with them as little children play with cats and dogs. He was like modern day Tarzan. The Pandavas were born in the dynasty of Bharat, and that is why sometimes in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna addresses Arjun and Yudhishthira as Bharata also. So this Bharat, the son of Sakuntala and Dushyanta, was so strong that while he was brought up in the jungle forest, he was, counting the teeth of the lion and the tiger by opening their mouth, So this was the characteristics of Bharat Maharaj. Now, in the next verse, the Brahmana is saying that this child, means they're referring to Parikshit, who was born, this child will be as good as Arjun in archery, in bow, archery among great bowmen. He will be as irresistible as fire and as surpassable as the ocean. So, in the history, there are two Arjunas. One is Kartvirya Arjun, the king of Hai Hai, and another is Pandava Arjun, which we are familiar with. He's also grandfather of this child, Parikshit. So I will tell you a little bit about Arjuna, even though you know all about him. Arjuna is plenary part of King Indra, as you know, he's son of Kunti Maharani, but awarded by Indra, and that story is in Mahabharata. He is also known as Falguni. Falguni because he was born in the month of Falgun, which is, according to the English calendar, February, March. Because he was born in Falgun, he is also called as Falguni. Arjun's another name is Falguni. He married 4 wives. Draupadi, in Sayamvar he brought that Draupadi. Subhadra, Krishna's sister. Chitrangat from Manipur, and Ulupi. And then he has son from each wife. Their name is Srutkirti, Abhimanyu from Subhadra, Srutkirti from Draupadi, and Babruvahan from Chitrangad, and Iravan from Ulupi. So they have 4 sons. Now Arjun was also a musical teacher of Uttara. Uttara, in the court of King Virat, she is daughter of King Virat. So this happened in Cognate. These are long past times. So I will not go too much detail into it. But at that time, he became a musical teacher of Uttara. When Virat was very happy, he wanted to marry Uttara with Arjun, but Arjun said, Arjun got this Uttara for his son, Abhimanyu. You know, that is how God Uttara married to Abhimanyu. Now, in the next verse, the Brahmanas are saying that this child will be as strong as lion, as worthy of shelter as Himalayas, and will be forbearing as his earth, as tolerant as his parent. So basically, what Brahmanas is describing, foretelling future of Parikshit Maharaj, that who he will be like, you know. So he's as strong as lion. It means he will be strong in chasing his enemy, like that. And Parikshit Maharaj was like that. Then Himalayas mountains are famous for all richness. Like they have caves to live in, there are a lot of trees of good fruits to eat, good springs to drink water from, and profuse drugs and medicine to cure diseases available in that mountain. So any man who is not materially prosperous can take shelter of this great mountain. So there are so many, now regarding earth, there are so many disturbances caused by inhabitants in this earth, but still Mother Earth is forbearing. And the example is given like mother who excuses a little child. Little child sometimes play in mother's lap and makes mother lap dirty also, you know. So I guess, I don't know what is happening. Okay. So this is the foretelling of thing is going on right now. This is all instances regarding the foretelling of Parikshit future. So now they are telling here the qualities. Okay. And then Maharaj Parikshit also, an ideal king may be possessed of all these good qualities, and the child Parikshit is foretold to have all these qualities in perfection. Okay. And in the next verse, they are saying that this child will be like his grandfather, Yudhishthir, or Brahma in equanimity of mind, means he will equibalance mind, you know. So he's comparing them because Yudhishthir was also a very equipoise person, and as well as Brahma. So, and he will be a generous or liberated, liberal like the Lord Shiva, munificent. He will be shelter of everyone like Supreme Person of Godhead Narayan. So Brahmana is basically comparing Parikshit Maharaj qualities with so many other personalities here that is given here. And in the next verse now they are telling that child will be almost as good as Lord Sri Krishna by following in his footsteps. He will be magnanimous and in forgiving someone like King Rantidev, you know, and in religion he will be like King Ayati. You know. So those King Rantidev, King Ayati have a good qualities. So Brahmanas are comparing Parikshit's quality to be when he grew up, you know, with those kings. So Maharaj Parikshit associated with Lord even from the womb of his mother up to the last day of his valuable life. And thus he acquired all the essential good qualities of the Lord in all perfection. He says that. So the example given is regarding Rantidev. So I'll tell you a little bit about Rantidev. He was a great king. He was very liberal for hospitality. Means he was very good at receiving guests and distribution of food prasadam. Even Lord Krishna praised his acts of charity. He was blessed by Vasistha Muni also for supplying him water, and thus he achieved the heavenly planet. So this is regarding Rantidev. Also, Rantidev was born in a rich family. Even as a child, he would share his riches with the needy people. He got married and had sons with no thought for the future. Rantidev and his wife continued to be generous. No one went away from their home empty-handed. Ultimately, Rantidev ran out of money. His family had to go without food for months. See, he was like so much uh, charitable that whoever comes to his house, he always feed him. So by doing that, now he ran out of money, and his family has to go hungry now. So one day, Rantidev managed to get some food from somebody, like rice, ghee, wheat, sugar, whatever, and the family thanked God for giving them food and sat down to eat. Now, what happened during that time? Just then, a holy man knocked at their door. So Rantidev received the guest by bowing to him and served the food to him. The holy man was very satisfied with the food, and then he went away, blessing these Rantidev. Now, half of the food was still left for Rantidev and his family. So, as they sat down to eat, another hungry farmer came looking for food. So Rantidev offered him a seat, made him comfortable, and served him food. And the farmer enjoyed his fill. He went, and there was still some food left. So Rantidev's family decided to share whatever had remained. Now, as they sat down to eat, a traveler appeared at the door. He was accompanied by 4 dogs. He begged for food for himself and his 4 dogs. So Rantidev offered whatever was left to the guest. He was happy to see the hungry dog was cleaning up the plates. So there was no food left by the time the man took his leave. Then Rantidev smiled and he said, God is so kind. Huh? We have some water left now. Just then, so they were about to drink that water, and at that time, he heard the voice, "Oh, sir, I am dying of thirst. Will a kind soul give me some water?" So, overcome with thirst, he offered the water to the thirsty man. The man gulped the water down. Now, as Rantidev looked at him, the poor man revealed himself. So it was actually a test for Rantidev. And that poor man was himself Brahma. And he is the Lord of creation, the secondary creator. And he said to Rantidev, the gods came down to earth to taste you. We are pleased with your spirit of sacrifice. We will be happy to grant any boon you ask for. Rantidev bowed down to the Lord Brahma and said very softly, Sir, may I always share whatever I have with my fellow men. So Lord Brahma blessed Rantidev and restored his wealth. Rantidev and his family never went hungry again and continued to help those who are in need. So this is the story of Rantidev, and the Brahmanas are saying that this Parikshit Maharaj will be like him. Then in the next verse, they are saying that this child will be like Bali Maharaj in patience, and he will be a staunch devotee like Prahlad Maharaj. So I will not go much detail into Bali Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj because we will learn that in Bhagavatam as we go along. Then in the next verse, Brahmanas are saying that this child will be father of Raj Rishis and chastiser of the upstarts and quarrelsome people of Kali. So he will have a good son like Janmejay, and so that is what the Brahmanas are forecasting about Parikshit Maharaj. Then the last thing that they want to know about about his death. So the Brahmanas are saying now that after hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird sent by son of Brahmana, he will himself detach from all material attachment. This child Parikshit, when he grew up, became a king. So after he get the news of his death, he will detach everything and surrender unto the personality of a Godhead, taking shelter of him. Then they say he will receive proper self-knowledge from Sukdev Goswami and will renounce all material attachment and achieve a life of fearlessness. So thus, those who are very expert in astrological knowledge and in performance of the birth ceremony instructed King Yudhishthir about the future history of the child Parikshit Maharaj. Then being sumptuously remunerated, they all returned to their respective homes. I mean, Yudhishthir gave them enough charity and they were very pleased. And then in last few verses, 6-7 verses, Sudha Goswami describes about Maharaj Parikshit growing up and performance of Ashwamedh Yajna by Yudhishthir Maharaj. So in the next verse, lastly, they are saying that this child will be called Parikshit. The reason for that is Parikshit means Pariksha means examining, examiner. So he will be examining all people. That's why his name was Parikshit. He's like an examiner because he was constantly remembering Lord whom he saw in the womb of his mother and searching that man, when he came out. So this is the reason he was called Parikshit. Now this fortunate child got the impression of the Lord even in the womb of his mother. Therefore, he who always remembering the Lord. So the conclusion here is given that the lesson that we can take from this, that in Parikshit Maharaj, that every child, if given an impression of the Lord from his childhood, certainly becomes a great devotee of Lord like Maharaj Parikshit. So this is the conclusion and that is the lesson to be learned. Now, Srila Prabhupada describes his own childhood. He says that there is a practical example in my personal life. Srila Prabhupada says that in this connection. Prabhupada says that my father was a pure devotee of the Lord, and when I was only 4 or 5 years old, my father gave me a couple of forms of Radha and Krishna in the playful manner. I used to worship these deities along with my sister, and I used to imitate the performances of a neighboring temple of Radha Govinda. By constantly visiting this neighboring temple and copying the ceremonies in connection with my own deities of play, I developed a natural affinity for the Lord. My father used to observe all ceremonies befitting my position. Later on, these activities were suspended due to my association in the schools and colleges, and I became completely out of practice. But in my youthful days, when I met my spiritual master, Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, again I revived my old habit, and the same playful deities became my worshipful deities in proper regulations. This was followed up until I left the family connection, and I am pleased that my generous father gave the first impression, which was developed later into regulative devotional service by his divine grace. So this was the story from Srila Prabhupada's own life, which is worth knowing it. Then Sutta Goswami further describes that this royal prince Parikshit Maharaj grew up in luxuriant atmosphere. He grew up like comparing to like as waxing moon get bigger and bigger till Purnima comes, similarly like that. Then meanwhile, Maharaj Yudhishthir wanted to perform Aswamedh Yajna to get free from the sin incurred. That was his thought. He was thinking that I'm a sinful person and he want to get rid of that sin and he want to perform this Aswamedh Yajna because he's thinking that he want to get free from his sins incurred from fighting with his own relative. So he was under anxiety to get some wealth because there was no surplus wealth. So understanding Yudhishthir's intention, his brother, and as advised by Lord Krishna, they collected sufficient wealth from a sacrifice of King Maruta. King Maruta is another character which is described very nicely, but we will not go into that much detail at this point. We don't have time to do that. So, but Maruta, in short, when he performed a long time ago, before Maharaj Yudhishthir, there was a lot of surplus gold and everything was left over, and that was unclaimed. So unclaimed property belongs to state. So these brothers of Yudhishthir collected these riches and gold and everything, and they brought, and with those wealth, Maharaj Yudhishthir performed 3 horse sacrifices. How many? 3 horse sacrifices. And please Lord Krishna that way. So Yudhishthir also invited Krishna for the sacrifice ceremony. And Lord saw that the sacrifice was performed by qualified brahmanas. At that time, the qualifier was brahmana. So even though you offer horse, you will get a renewed life. So because they were pure, they were chanting mantra like that. So after that, Lord Krishna remained for a few months to please his relative there. And thereafter, Krishna bade farewell to Yudhishthira, Draupadi, other relatives, and started for Dwarka along with Arjun and Yadus. So this is the end of the chapter. But now I will describe the whole chapter briefly so that it will be helpful in your game also. So please listen it very carefully. It will take only 5 more minutes. Okay. So I will summarize the whole chapter in 5 minutes, 7 minutes maybe. Okay. So the sage Saunak was very interested in the story of Parikshit Maharaj. So on behalf of the assembled sages, he asked, my dear Sutta Goswami, Uttara's womb was completely spoiled by that horrible Brahmastra weapon, but Lord Krishna saved baby Parikshit. I wonder, how was he born in that womb? And how did he die? And where did he go after he died? So Sutta Goswami began to answer this question. He began. Parikshit's father, Abhimanyu, had died in battle, so he was under the protection of his grandfathers, the Pandavas. King Yudhishthir was a great and generous king, just like his father Pandu. He had so many wealth and opulence that even the heavenly denizens wanted what he had. But because Yudhishthir lovingly served Lord Krishna, nothing else made him as happy. So when baby Parikshit was in his mother's Uttara's womb, he could feel the burning heat from the fiery iron arrow. He was very, very hot. So he was suffering a lot. All of a sudden, he saw Lord Krishna coming towards him. Krishna was as small as a thumb high, but he was still very strong. The Lord stood before the baby with a beautiful blackish body, wearing blazing golden helmet and a yellow dhoti that looked like lightning. He had 4 arms and wore golden earrings. Indeed, Krishna was very angry. And why he was angry? Because that somebody was trying to harm his devotee. His eyes were blood red with fury, and he was encircling his club around himself constantly like a shooting star. In this way, Lord Krishna was vanquishing the heat from the fiery arrow. Baby Pariksit was just watching him and thinking, who is this wonderful person? Suddenly, Lord Krishna disappeared and baby Pariksit was saved. When an auspicious time came, baby Pariksit was born, and Brahmanas headed by Dhaumya and Krupacharya recited joyous hymns to celebrate the occasion. Indeed, King Yudhishthir was extremely happy. He willingly gave in charity to the Brahmanas such things as gold, land, villages, elephant, horses, food grains, etc. The learned Brahmanas said to Maharaj Yudhishthir, this child was doomed to die in the womb of Uttara from that fiery Brahmana arrow, but he was saved by Krishna, so he will be known throughout the world as one who is protected by Krishna. Will be a first-class devotee and a very good boy. Will he be saintly king? King Yudhishthir asked to the Brahmanas, like previous kings in our royal family. So the Brahmana says, oh yes, they replied. Without hesitation, he will have the best skills and qualities of many of your forefathers. So the Brahmanas began to describe the king Yudhishthir, all the great skills and qualities that baby Parikshit would develop, and then they explained to the king how Parikshit would die. Parikshit will hear that he will die from the bite of a snake bird sent by the son of Brahmana, but he won't be upset about this. Instead, he will use his opportunity to let go of all this material attachment, surrendering to and taking full shelter of Lord Krishna. He will ask Sukadeva Goswami questions about the soul, and this will make him fearless. He won't be scared of anything. The Brahmanas had finished telling the king about baby Parikshit, and then Yudhishthir Maharaj gave them donation before they returned home. The baby would be known throughout the world as Parikshit, which means examiner, since he would come to examine all human beings in his quest to see the Lord again, whom he had been in his mother's womb. In this way, he would always be thinking about Krishna. Day by day, Parikshit developed into a fine young boy with all of the qualities and skills that were practiced by Brahmanas. I mean, the Brahmanas predicted his future accordingly. So at the same time, Yudhishthira Maharaj, still feeling bad about the scenes of fighting with his kinsmen, performed 3 Ashwamedha Yajna, or sacrifices, with the help of his brothers and Lord Krishna. This pleased Lord Krishna, and thus King Yudhishthir was pleased. The Lord then stayed with the Pandavas for a few months before returning back to Dwarka. So this is the summary of 12th chapter, my dear boys and girls. So I hope you have understood well, and you will do good in your Kahoot game also on Friday. Thank you very much. I appreciate your presence here, listening this Krishna Katha. Very nice. Thank you. Hare Krishna. And I'll take any questions or comments if you have.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
So, Suraj, you have to unmute yourself and ask question. Suraj?
Yes, Mataji. I think I forgot one.
Or sacrifice. Okay.
Yes, anybody?
Can I ask my question, Prabhuji?
Yes. Who? Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Can I ask my question?
Yeah.
Okay, so my question was, in Ashwamedh Yajna, did they kill the horse while doing it?
What is it? Horses? What about?
In Ashwamedh Yajna, did they kill the horse to do it? To do the
Yeah, they sacrifice the horse, but the horse will get a new body. And they will go to, heavenly planet. Because during those times, these brahmanas were very pure. When they chant the mantra, they rejuvenate. The horse will sacrifice, but then they get a new life also.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody? Yes, next person. Who is next? Mataji, you are there? I think Mataji is not there. Anyway, okay, who is next?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Nishita, please unmute yourself. Nishita. Nishita, please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So, my question is, if the Pandavas and the Kauravas had the Pandavas and the Kauravas had a war, right?
Yes.
So the Kauravas were also in the spiritual world, right?
Yes.
So, you said if someone enters the spiritual world, they will not be killed, but the Kauravas did get killed by the Pandavas.
Yeah, because they saw Krishna while fighting.
Yeah, but like you said in the spiritual world, no one can die.
Yeah, in the spiritual world, if you go there, no one can die. Yeah, we are eternal.
Okay, so my other question is so if the Kauravas came to the spiritual world, does it mean the Kauravas were like the devotee of Krishna in their other life, in the past?
Kauravas with his see the Kuru dynasty, the Duryodhana, you know about the Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, they were cunning. I mean, they do not want to follow the Sanatan Dharma, which Pandava was following, So there is a difference between Pandava and Kauravas. So that is why they have a fight between them.
Yeah, but I'm asking if did the Kauravas, were the Kauravas the devotee of Krishna in their past life to go to the spiritual world?
In the past life, or?
Yeah, in the past life. Were the Kauravas
well, the Kauravas are like 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, right? So there is another story about that thing, how Dhritarashtra got 100 sons, So this is basically what happened. It's the historical event that Dhritarashtra and Gandhari have a 100 son.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know how did they have their son?
Oh.
Okay. Because when Gandhari was pregnant, in these three brothers, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidur. Okay. So Dhritarashtra was the eldest. So basically, he is the son who takes the throne of Hastinapur in legal way. But because he was blind, the throne was given to Pandu, which was younger than him. Okay. So then when Pandu went to the forest and he has these sons, Yudhishthir, Bhim. So Yudhishthir was born first before the Gandhari have an issue. Okay. So that's why Gandhari was pregnant at that time. So Gandhari hit her womb and the flesh came out And so from that, they made 100 parts, and they were put into these pots. And this is how these 100 Kaurava came, So this is the story behind that, like that. But the main thing is there's a political issue, because Dhritarashtra wanted to become a king. So, but anyway, Pandu died earlier than for temporarily till this prince raise up. So at that time, Yudhishthir was the right heir to take, because after Pandu, because Pandu was a king and Yudhishthir was elder, But Dhritarashtra did not like that thing. He was thinking that my son should become a king. And Duryodhana also, he trained Duryodhana that way. And another influence is this Sakuni, who is the maternal uncle of Duryodhana, okay, brother of Gandhari. So this is all political intrigue, that the thing is happened, and that it's just a historical war and historical event happened, Vyasadeva has written this historical event which happened, and there is a lot of learning, lot of lessons we can learn from this episode.
Okay, but Prabhuji, I'm not asking about that. I'm asking how the Kauravas came to the spiritual world.
Where do they come spiritual? Well, the thing is that Kauravas went to the spiritual after their death. Is that what you're saying? Actually, all the soldiers on the other side went to Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. All of, because of Krishna's presence.
Okay, so like
it said in the Shastra that anybody who sees Krishna, at the time of death, he will go to his planet, Vaikuntha planet.
Okay, so if the Krishna, so in the death of the Kauravas, they saw Krishna, right, at the time of their death.
Yeah.
So how, like, will they be born in the spiritual world again, or will they be born in the material world?
No, once somebody goes from this material world to spiritual world, they will not come back.
Oh, okay. So they'll stay in the same world.
Once somebody, anybody devotee here, practicing devotee, right? We all devotees practicing. And if we get a perfect devotee, and if we get that thing to spiritual world, we will not come back here.
Okay. So, my other question is, so if, I just forgot the question, sorry.
Okay, you can text.
Actually, no, I remember. So, so Lord Vishnu, he makes a lot of universes, right?
Yes.
So if Lord Vishnu makes a lot of universes, does Krishna stay in one?
Yeah, Lord Krishna and Vishnu, there is no difference. As I explained, have you seen, you were there when we did chapter 3? I'm sure you will be there, right? You were there? Yeah. So remember that we explained about the creation of this material world. So it starts with, from Krishna, Balaram is the first expansion. From Balaram, there is a Chatur view called Vasudev, Sankarsan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. And from that Sankarshan, there is another Chatur view. And from that Sankarshan, Mahavishnu, which I showed you this slide, that Mahavishnu lying on the causal ocean, and from his skin, many universes are coming out. Those are the material universes. So Vishnu, the expansion, plenary expansion of Krishna. Krishna is in the spiritual world. He's sitting, he's playing flute, but this is his expansion. His energy works.
Okay, so Lord Vishnu, he makes material worlds?
Yes, he creates material universes. In that material universes, another expansion is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, after Karanodakshaya Vishnu. Karanodakshaya Vishnu and Mahavishnu is same, but after Karanodakshaya Vishnu, when he emanates the universes, each universe there is a Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, another Vishnu. There are three Vishnus, Karanodakshai, Garbhodakshai, and Kshirodakshai. So this Garbhodakshai Vishnu, while lying on the bed of the serpent, from his navel comes the lotus flower. And from there, on that lotus flower, Brahma borns. This is the first living entity of each universe. There are so many universes. For example, we take our universe. So our Brahma is four-headed Brahma. Some universe may be 10-headed Brahma also, you know. So let's say our universe, four-headed Brahma was born in there. And then in turn, Brahma becomes the secondary creator and Lord provides the ingredient and Brahma makes the different kind of bodies, like 84 lakhs of bodies, right? Like some lives in water, birds, animals, plant, trees, human, isn't that? I described 6 types of bodies are there. And they are total in number 84 lakhs. Right? Jalajana, 9 lakhs in water, 20 lakhs is tree, right? 11 lakhs is reptiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you remember that 30 lakhs animal, 10 lakhs bird, and 4 lakhs human being, you know. So that is Brahma's creation. Brahma's job is to create different bodies. Okay.
Okay.
And then the Jiva gets, according to their own karma, they get particular body. They get a human body, animal body, fish body, depending on their karma. So that is how the cycle is going on.
Okay, so that's it, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. The next one is Varun Kasturi. Varun Kasturi, can you please unmute yourself?
I already asked my question.
Okay, okay. I just see hands raised.
Yes, I forgot to lower it.
Okay, no problem. Suraj, do you have any question? Please unmute yourself.
I just remembered my question. In the horse sacrifice, do they cause the horse pain while they do the sacrifice?
What is it? Can you repeat it again? Hare Krishna. Can you repeat your question, please?
Just a minute, might be he's going mute. Suraj, please unmute yourself.
In the horse sacrifice, does the horse get pain?
Yeah, I mean, horse, the thing is that when horse gets sacrificed, like I mentioned, he get a new life.
Oh, but does the horse get pain? Because if it does get pain, then whoever is doing the sacrifice gets karma.
According to these principles, when they do this process, according to the principles and according to the right mantras ucharan, he will not get any. He will get the sacrifice is done to get a good result, not a bad result.
Okay, but will the brahmanas that do the sacrifice get karma?
No.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. It is like a judge is giving different sentences to different people. So judge is not responsible for it. He decides according to the law, you know, that certain person should be given certain punishment. So it is not that he is deciding. He is deciding, but according to he's taking the shelter of the previous cases and then law, then he classify under that category, and according to that penal, whatever that code comes, he will be sentenced. So he's not responsible for punishing those people like that. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. The next last question is Aradhita. Aradhita, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It was a wonderful class. I just wanted you to repeat Ranti Dev's like the people who came they were actually demigods, but they got disguised, and he fulfilled on his test. I wanted to know the people that they disguised as again.
Who disguised again? The Brahma.
Like in order.
Oh, in order. Okay. In the beginning, saintly people came. Okay. So he welcomed him, respected him, and give him food. Then the farmer came, and then the one person came with 4 dogs at the end, and then the last one came is actually was Brahma disguised, looking for water. Okay.
Who was thirsty?
Hmm?
The last one who was thirsty. So the sage, the farmer, the person with the dog, and then someone who was thirsty.
Yeah, he was thirsty, but he was actually disguised. Lord Brahma was disguised as a thirsty man. He came to taste the Ranti Dev.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So there is no more question. So
Okay.
should we wind up our call?
Yes, Mataji, we are getting late also. So anyway, okay, Hare Krishna everybody, and thank you for joining. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.